yeah, not really too sure how to analyse that one. I think everyone, including the manager today, everyone involved with the club should be extremely embarrassed about the performance that was put out on the pitch. Manager got the formation, the personnel, the substitutions at halftime all wrong. I said on Twitter that obviously Nunes isn't worth playing in midfield, and Lopetegui is the one that sees him every week, so he should probably know more than what we do on social media. But to be honest, the decision to put him at right back in the second half is just setting him up for failure. He's not a right back. He's not a right wing back. And watching it today sort of sapped the life out of me. Past the third goal going in, every single goal that they scored, I felt nothing. Maybe it's because I feel like mentally that we're already safe, but it both ruined my weekend and also I'm at a point now where I don't really care. I'm still undecided on whether half of these players are actually any good. And I know that Neves has been our best player this season, but I'm also consciously aware that we somehow play better with him not in the side. The win against Palace was really good on Tuesday, and I'm very thankful for it because it meant that we're probably pretty much safe, but it was not a good performance on Tuesday, even though we won the game. And Neves back in the side today, and he was too deep. It wasn't influential. Didn't do anything defensively. Nunes invisible. In fact, the whole midfield was invisible, really, and the defending was shocking. One pass in behind. It was like watching. It's like when you give your little brother a game on FIFA, and you know the buttons and he doesn't. So you're just. Do you know what? I don't even know how to analyze the game. I just want to forget it. I just want to forget that it happened. Fair play to Brighton. They're really good. De Zerbi's a really good manager. I thought that they would. I thought they'd capitulate a little bit when Potter left, but turns out they've gotten even better. And I hope that they make Europe over the Villa. That'd be great. Let's try and pick up a couple more points towards the end of the season so that we can build. Hopefully, a pre-season under Lopetegui will be all right.
Now, you're wondering why I may be in a different setting to when I normally do the fans react, and that's because on 40 minutes I was already in the car on the way to the shops. So instead of a fans react, I'm going to take you through some of the items I bought from shopping. So I brought some Lay's Indian Magic Masala crisps, absolutely superb. We've got a kilogram of East End ground cumin. I think the only way you could probably sum that performance up is unprofessional. The best performance today really was from Dave and I, who haven't gone to the game. I just feel sorry for the fans who have had to work all week to look forward to that and have been let down by Wolves. I've heard some journalists maybe say they're unlucky with a couple of goals. It's nonsense. Stop pandering to it. It's a disgrace. The club, for me, now have no option but to refund the match ticket for the game. Most will travel down on the coach anyway, but I don't think you can expect them to do that. But the match ticket should be refunded. There's no ifs and buts. I know you expect to go to a game and you can be beat and not have your money back, but not in that fashion. It was pathetic, and a lot of those players today after that performance aren't fit enough to wear the old gold and black. Not for me. yes, maybe on the beach, yes, there may not be enough to play for with the Forest result going the way it did today, but that performance today was a disgrace. From the 40 minutes I watched anyway. I'm not even going to watch the goals back. I'm not even going to watch them back for the podcast. I don't even know who scored, but I'd imagine it was sixes and sevens at the back. Sar's probably chucked a couple of in. We've probably been nicked in possession in the midfield, fucking around with it. And I may or may not be wrong, there may all be screamers. But yeah, unprofessional, and expect fans to be refunded. No ifs and buts.
Well, there isn't a huge amount that you can say about a performance as abysmal as that. It was one of the most gutless, spineless, embarrassing performances I've ever seen from, particularly from a Wolves team, but by a football team ever. I think the way we crumbled within 5 minutes was terrible. There really isn't a huge amount you can say about it. I think on the whole, I feel sorry for the fans that went up down there to Brighton today. I'm glad I wasn't one of them, I must say. Beautiful day down there, but ruined by the football, by the players, by Lopetegui. But we'll start with Lopetegui. I think after you've had such a decent run of form, bar the unfortunate loss at Brighton, I think when you've had such a good, run of results and decent performances on the whole with a team and a system that works, why would you change from that? Now, I can only think that he thinks inside, he thinks we're safe, and he thinks it's time that he could bring in some players that potentially haven't had as many minutes as they perhaps deserve. But it was taking Cunha out of the equation, completely isolated Diego Costa. I'm not quite sure why we're playing 4-5. I couldn't even remember how many 4 central midfielders again to pack out a midfield that ultimately wasn't the problem. It was the flanks. We let Estupiñán run down that left wing, potentially realistically act as a striker for a large portion of that game. He was getting in behind our defence more than anyone, arguably. So the decision to bring in that many midfielders, I'm not sure I agree with. And then the players, just embarrassing. I'm struggling to kind of put my thoughts into words, because I don't suppose it's anger. I think I felt the most anger during lockdown and stuff when the Baggies beat us at our place, and when the season after when Chris Wood stuck 3 past us for Burnley. But once it had hit 2-3-0, there was no coming back from it. The players' heads had dropped after the first goal. The defending was something that you could not associate it with a Wolves team over recent years. On the whole, we've been decent defensively, so to let that many goals in the manner that we did was nothing short of embarrassing. Just dreadful. But overall, it was a combination of tactics from Lopetegui with the decision with the starting 11, his substitutions, and a matter of application from the players. There was nothing from them today. I think Lamina has arguably been our best player this season since coming in January. He looked miles off it. Didn't notice Ruben Neves once. Semedo struggled. Dawson didn't look at his best. Kilman was dreadful. And Jose Sarr, I'm running out of words for him. I really am. I've been one of his biggest defenders, to be honest. I think he's saved us a lot of points this season, and even against Leicester. I think he slipped going into the challenge, but that's by the by. It really doesn't matter at this point. The fact is, he's costing us points now. I thought Rui Patricio was the worst goalkeeper I'd seen defending his near post, but Jose Sarr's catching up pretty quickly. It seemed like every shot that Brighton had today went in, and it looked like his head had gone in possession. He didn't know what to do with it. It's a David De Gea reincarnated, just without the shot stopping ability at his near post. So really disappointing. He could arguably be shifted in the summer, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. Neto, I wanted to get onto him because he came in for Cunha, and I didn't understand it at first, but I think all things considered, he was one of the shining lights of this Wolves team today. The rest of them were abysmal, absolutely abysmal, shocking. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. There's very few positives coming out today. The fact that Brentford managed to get a last minute winner against Forest, West Ham lost, But 6-0, the heaviest defeat I've seen in my time as a Wolves fan. The heaviest defeat I hope I get to see in my lifetime, because I don't know how it can get much worse than that. Brighton could have had 8 or 9 today, and it would have flattered them, honestly. I don't think they were especially good. To beat us today, but we were just that bad that we deserved absolutely nothing but a hammering, and that's what we got. So my only hope is that they kind of get a kick up the arse from Julian going into Villa. Lopetegui needs to make some right decisions regarding the team going forward. Cunha needs to come back in. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens with Nelson Semedo, as I think he got injured. But the players, embarrassing today. Absolutely embarrassing. That's all I want to say.
It's finished. Wolves 0, Brighton 6. Can't quite believe I'm saying that, if I'm honest. It's hard to put into words an actual match reaction to that game today. You could say that you could, when you try and do these match reactions, you try and pick out key moments in the game where we were either really good or really shit. But from minute 1 to minute 90 today, we were shit. It's as simple as that. Every player on the pitch today was pure shit. A couple of key players I'd like to pick out, because I think they do need picking out, because it's not only today that Jose Sarr has really put us in a shit position. That's one position that Houston needs looking at in summer. Because, 2 or 3 times today he's put us in the shit, and a couple of times he's been at fault for the goal. I also want to say the lineup was strange. You're playing 4 central midfielders and you're still getting overrun in midfield. That's a problem that shouldn't even be happening to start with. I don't see why he's dropped Cunha. Everybody knows this season, without Cunha, we've looked shit going forward, and the link-up play up front. So it's baffled me a little bit as to why you've dropped him. The decision to put Nunes right wing back, who I thought was absolutely dreadful today. I don't think he's made a pass to anybody. Oh, he has, sorry. He's made a couple of passes to the Brighton players. And then he's shoehorned it at right back for the remainder of the game when Semedo went off. Was another strange decision. I know we don't have any out-and-out right backs on the bench, but you've got people who've played there. Totti could have jumped in and played there, and so yeah, it was just a all-round mess today. I think that's the word for it. It was baffling just to watch us get absolutely pumped. I wouldn't even say Brighton have played us off the park. I mean, they have, because they've battered us 6-0. But they've had 8 shots and 6 of them have gone in. But, that's just... It was like the players had never played with each other today. That's what's the worrying part. Or what has changed since Tuesday for that to happen. And our away form this year is really worrying. When you only win 2 out of what will be 19 games, because I don't think we'll get anything at Man United and Arsenal. When you only win two away games in the season, that's something you've got to seriously look at for next season and going forward. But yeah, it's one of them. I'll probably be more angry about it in the week, looking back on it, than I am now. I'm just in a bit of a baffled state right now. But we have to pick our heads up and go again on next Saturday against Sevilla, another big game. And hopefully we can get something then. So, yeah, cheers on me on, boys.
So, Brighton and Hove Albion 6, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Where do you start with that? Embarrassing, gutless, spineless, shameful, really. That is the politest way you could sum up that absolutely dismal showing from Wolves. That was sickening. That was probably the club's worst performance combined with result. Definitely, I think of the Fosun era. You could argue that. The performance, the lack of trying, nobody was running. Everything about that was disgusting. And there are some players that were there today that I don't want to see at the club next season. And I'm sure many Wolves fans feel the same. That was disgracefully bad. It's shameful from Wolves today. Absolutely shameful. A couple of hours have passed now since the game is finished. And to be honest, I'd forgotten about them. I'd stopped caring as soon as Brighton had gone 2-0 up. Because, well, you knew it was game over then. But to lose 6-0 to Brighton team with so many changes, as was the team they played today without Caicedo, Mitoma, Evan Ferguson, Alexis McAllister, still lost 6-0. Do me a favour. Honestly, Wolves should be embarrassed. They should be ashamed. Everyone from the manager through to the, I think, 15 players we used in the end, or 16 players that stepped foot on that pitch, maybe with the exception of Pedro Neto today. That's all I'll say. He's looking sharp and maybe back to some sort of form. Hopefully, who knows? Who knows? But start with Lopetegui. What's he doing changing the team? Again, we won on Tuesday with Cunha in the team. Why did Cunha not play? Why did Cunha not get a minute if he's not injured? That was a stupid decision. To play Neto up with Costa, to play Nunes on the right. He's played 4 centre mids again. He's played 4 central midfielders again today. He played 4 central midfielders away at Liverpool. Lost. We're hopeless. I think he played them 4 at Newcastle. Lost. We're hopeless. He does it away from home all the time. He does it all the time away from home. Anytime we play 4 central midfielders away from home, we lose and we're absolutely hopeless. I'm trying to think of the other game where we did it, and it was recently. And he played 4 central midfielders away from home. Forest, that's when it was. Nottingham Forest, where we scraped a point in the last minutes. He played 4 central midfielders. João Moutinho was one of them, except it was João Gomez today. And we were atrocious. And we were 4-0 down today at half time before we could make a change. And Nunes went to right back. By the way, Mateus Nunes, that was the worst individual display I've seen from a Wolves player probably in my life. And I don't even think that's being dramatic. He was absolutely atrocious. He was useless. His touch for the second goal, Brighton breakaway down the side and Cisse in the box. Gross taps it in. To be fair, all the goals are morphed into one. I'm not even sure if that was one, but I think it was him. And I am absolutely sick of this goalkeeper now. I am sick of him at this stage of the season. I want to see Dan Bentley play against Aston Villa next weekend because he can't possibly be as shit as Jose Sa has been for Wolves this season. He can't be. He just cannot be. He cannot be as bad. Jose Sa, honestly, I'm not blaming him for Wolves losing 6-0 today. That happens, okay? But it doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen, but it has happened. But he never learns from his mistakes. Last season, was it 5 penalties he gave away from stupidly, moronically running out and taking down an opposition player approaching the penalty area? He did it last week of Vardy. Passing out from the back, gave away a goal against Man City. What does he do today for the 6th? Passed it straight to Nunes, who very, very weakly dispossessed, and then Undav chips it over him and in. He should have saved Welbeck's second goal. I think that was the 5th. He passed the ball straight to Danny Welbeck on the edge of the box in the first half, but that one you can have a little bit of sympathy from, because maybe Semedo, who was disgraceful by the way, hit it a little bit too hard. We're 4-0 down by the time he went off. He was awful. Lamina I didn't see get involved once. Diego Costa ran about, but he couldn't do much more because there was no fucker helping him the whole match. Craig Dawson was awful. Kilman has got praise over the last few weeks. But even that first half today, he was absolutely atrocious. Down the sides, Enciso and Solly March had an absolute field day. Hugo Bueno wasn't up to it at all. The only player that I thought looked half decent anytime he got the ball was Pedro Neto. He ran and ran. And David Coote, he was through on goal, Pedro Neto, at 1-0. After doing a brilliant run down around the outside. And I think it was there. I'm not sure if he was the referee. But it was stopped. The game was stopped because of a scuffle between Costa and Adam Webster. So why stop the game there when Neto's about to score? I found that very, very, very suspicious indeed. But of course, you cannot blame that. But I just thought that was an interesting flashpoint in the middle. The only thing today that stopped me from being absolutely depressed about this result is the fact that Brentford came back to beat Nottingham Forest 2-1. So they're now 3 real games behind us. They're 7 points behind us now. And I think that result might have just been enough for Wolves today to stay in the Premier League, that Brentford one. I worry, I really do. I feel like they're well capable of losing to Manchester United, Everton, Aston Villa and Arsenal very easily because they can be good teams on their day. But it frightens you for next season for when Ruben Neves leaves. The leaders. Where are the leaders in this team? You don't see them. Brighton are an exceptional team, we know. We know this. But they were without their stars of the season. Your Matomas, your McAllisters, your Caicedos, your Evan Fergusons. You let Dennis Undav score 2 goals against you. We saw him last week at Wembley against Manchester United. He was awful. He was absolutely awful. I'm absolutely seething with that display by Wolves. I cannot get over how bad they were. The basics, they couldn't pass the ball 4 or 5 yards in the first half. And the goals were so simple. They were just, I cannot get over it. I really can't. It is really sickening me. The goalkeeper has to go in the summer. We have to sign a new goalkeeper. Get Lopetegui on the phone to Seville for that Bono chap who looks good. Or someone along the lines. We need a new goalkeeper. I don't like him. He had a good season last year. Arguably was the reason we won a few points. But this year he's certainly cost us more than he's won us. And don't think I'm picking on him because I'm not. There are so many other players that I would love to name and shame and say, I want you out the door in the summer. But most of them are going anyway. Our striker can't get a minute anymore, Raul Jimenez. Ryan Aït-Nouri, a player who I thought has looked good. Lopetegui hasn't deemed good enough for the squad. Johnny, I didn't want him in the squad, so I'm not going to complain about him being unable to come on today because that'd be rather hypocritical. And it's just awful. It's absolutely awful. And I realised I've gone 7 minutes on this, so I better wrap this up. But Villa next week, a massive game, a massive reaction needed. We need 4 or 5 changes. We need to go for them. We need to attack them. And for the love of God, we need a new goalkeeper in that goal for next week. Otherwise, we will lose to Villa. And if we play like we did today against Aston Villa at home, goodness me, I would not like to be at Molineux for that one. But today, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, the first time they've let 6 goals, they've lost by 6 goals since 2008. It was Brighton 6, Wolves 0. Disgraceful.